Right, so let's start off with today's session. So today I gave MICAT 1. Today was the date for MICAT 1. I gave it in the morning. And I just want to talk about the pattern of the paper that I experienced, the levels of difficulty, share with you the kind of questions that are present across the paper, and also discuss ideal strategy that aspirants can apply when they are taking MICAT 2. So MICAT 2 will happen after January 20th, I think 22nd of January, and I think registrations for that has begun. So if anyone is registering for MICAT 2, then this session is going to be extremely helpful for you. Okay. Now, before I get into the session, I want to talk about my experience today a bit. So today's experience actually taught me why I'm thankful for CAT as an examination, because CAT is so well conducted. And these non-CAT examinations are very shoddily conducted. The management levels actually themselves betray the fact that why CAT is the number one and most sought after examination, because today's MICAT paper is supposed to start at 9 a.m. for me. It's supposed to be a 2-hour, 15-minute paper. So it was to get over at 11:15. But after we signed in, after we got in, we finished our biometric. After that, the center could not load the paper for about 2 hours. So the examination, which was supposed to conclude at 11:15, began at 11 a.m. So what happened was that we just were sitting for 2.5 hours in one single place without doing anything, and most of us fell asleep. So this kind of a thing you can expect to happen even in the future with respect to non-CAT examinations like MICAT, like SNAP. So be ready for these kind of uncertainties to happen. Not all examinations are conducted as smoothly as CAT is. I just wanted to put that out there. Okay. So before we start talking about the paper itself, I want to discuss why MICA, or who should be applying to MICA if someone has not registered for MICAT 2. Then I want to give you clarity about this college and who should actually be looking forward to this. See, MICAT or MICA as a college is a college for marketing management. If you are not interested in marketing management, if your goal is not to get into marketing at all, then don't apply to this college. Also, with respect to marketing management, the kind of roles and placements that happen at MICA and the kind of curriculum that is taught at MICA is very different from marketing management that is taught in any other college. So it is a communications and advertisement college, right? So this college focuses more on the creative aspect of marketing. So people who have a creative flair and they want to get into the creative side of marketing, want to get into advertisement related roles rather than analysis and analytical roles, should definitely be looking forward to MICA as a very, very good college to get in, because it is one of a kind in India. You will, excuse me, not find any other college having the kind of placements and having the kind of companies visiting the campus like MICA does. It's also a very socially inclined organization. So a lot of global NGOs and global social organizations visit the campus for consulting and marketing roles. So if you are someone who has a social bent of mind or are particularly gravitating towards creative or entertainment industries, then MICA as a college is for you. In fact, a lot of our ex-students who have graduated from MICA have gone into companies which does event management for stand-up comics. It has gone into marketing for IPL teams. There are people who get placed at places like Disney Hotstar, like Geo Cinema. So a lot of entertainment field related placements in marketing happen through this college. Plus, as I said, global organizations which are having a bent towards social mindset, social welfare mindset, like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Oxfam. All of these social organizations also visit the campus for picking up people for marketing purposes. So if you're looking forward to such roles in marketing, MICA is the place to be in, because the curriculum is specifically catered towards that kind of a creative marketing management. Right? So now that this is clear that what is MICA as a college all about, then let me talk about the selection process. That when we write MICAT, is it like a SNAP? Is it like an NMAT that if you write that exam, then the score of that exam is going to be considered in order to secure a call for the interview process? No, it's not. So how MICAT works is that you have to take MICAT, and along with that, mandatorily you have to take either CAT, XAT or GMAT, at least one of them or more than one of them as well. So what happens when you are given a seat at MICA is that you have got 35% weightage for CAT, XAT and GMAT scores and only 25% weightage for MICAT. So this constitutes 50% of the weightage for whether you're going to be selected in that particular college or not, whether you're going to secure a seat in that college or not. So if you have written CAT and if you feel that you have not done well at all and you're putting all your eggs in the basket for MICAT, then that's not going to work out. You have to do well in ZAT at least. If not, write GMAT, because 35% weightage is for CAT, ZAT or GMAT scores, and only 25% weightage is for MICAT scores. So what is a safe CAT percentile or a ZAT percentile to have? We have seen historically people getting up to an 80 percentile call have actually been able to secure an interview call at MICA, provided they do well in the MICAT examination, right? So this should be a target score or say percentile for CAT or ZAT. If you're not going to cross 80 percentile, then no matter how well you do in MICAT, that will not be enough for you to secure an interview call for MICA, right? So 80 percentile here. Okay. And there is also a specific cutoff score for MICAT, below which if you score, then you will not be given a call for interview at all. Now, if you clear the cutoff for both CAT, ZAT, GMAT as well as MICAT, then what will happen is that all the candidates who have done so will be arranged in a descending order. And based on this composite score of 35% plus 25%, the top 10 percentile will be called for an interview. And even the process of interview is slightly different. Instead of having a VAT or a GD, they have something called a group exercise, which we'll be talking about much later when the calls for interview come out. And then 20% weightage for personal interview. And remaining 10%, you have got 5% for your ACADS for 10th, 12th, and graduation scores, and 5% for extracurricular activities. Let me tell you, I don't think any other college, any other B school in the country actually has got an admission criteria in which there is weightage for extracurricular activities apart from MICA. So this in itself shows that it's a very creative side oriented college, and it wants people who have not just been, it wants people who have explored the creative field as well. And that's why there is 5% weightage for extracurricular activities. Right, so all of this together is going to decide whether you are good enough to secure a seat in this college for a marketing management degree or not. So that is what is the selection process of MICA. Okay, now with all of this out of the way, let's now finally get into the core part of discussion for today, which is the MICAT paper itself. Now, some of you might be knowing this, some of you might not be knowing this, but I'll give you a general sense of understanding of the paper pattern first. The paper, when you go to give the examination, consists of 4 sections. The first section is section 0. It has got no scores. It is a test section. That section is specifically made for you to check whether all your systems are working properly or not. So it's a test section, and I will discuss what happens in this section in a bit, but you're given 3 minutes to test out your computer and the equipment that has been given to you. Then you have got 30 minutes of psychometric test. Then 25 minutes of descriptive answers, in which you have to write subjective type essays. And there are 4 such essays that you have to write within 25 minutes. And then the last 80 minutes, last 1 hour, 20 minutes of the paper is what is your MCQ part of the paper, which is what is similar to your CAT, SNAP, NMAT, all these kind of examinations, right? So in total, the duration of this examination is 2 hours and 18 minutes. If I remove this 3 minutes, the test section is 3 minutes initially, then it's a 2-hour, 15-minute paper, out of which the first 55 minutes is not your MCQ type questions at all. So this is what the paper pattern looks like. Now, how do these sections work? What kind of weightage do these sections have as far as selection criteria is concerned? So let me tell you that all of these sections are actually not evaluated by MICA for everyone. How the evaluation process works is that first MICA checks whether you've cleared the CAT, ZAT or GMAT cutoff or not. If you have cleared CAT, ZAT, GMAT cutoff, then psychometric test is actually tested. Okay. So psychometric test does not have any scores. It's not like there are right answers and wrong answers. Psychometric test will test aspects of your personality. So it's a qualifying examination. So either you qualify it or you don't qualify it. So if you don't qualify the psychometric test, then the remaining sections are not even evaluated. You won't receive a score for any of the remaining. But if you qualify for psychometric test, then next the objective type part of the paper will be evaluated. That your scores in the objective type part of the paper will be calculated. And if these scores clear the cutoff of the objective type part of the paper, only then your essays are read. And then you are given marks on your essays. So the entire paper is not corrected for everyone. First, they check your CAT, ZAT, GMAT scores to see whether you have qualified or not. If you've cleared the cutoff, then they check psychometric test. If you qualify the psychometric test, only then your objective type part of the paper is scored. And only if you clear the cutoff of the objective type part of the paper will they check your essay and mark and evaluate your essay. So once you clear all these cutoffs, only then you are even eligible to secure a call for an interview. This is how the selection process works. Okay. So if the pattern of the paper is clear, let's go through each and every one of the sections and understand what happens in each section. And let's also delve into the strategy that will be best to follow in each of these sections. So first, your test section. So in test section, you will be given a sentence in which, or a couple of sentences in which all of the alphabets are present. A few symbols are also present. So it's a test of whether all the keys on your keyboard is working or not. Use this section well to check if you got any dead keys on your keyboard or not. And I'll tell you one small tip when you're taking MICAT 2, when you're having the test section, then check the enter key. The sentence or sentences that they give you to type out has got all the alphabets, has got symbols like hashtag, @ question mark, full stop, exclamation mark. All of those things are there. But they don't tell you, or it doesn't let you, or have built within it. So built within the test, a test of the enter key. So make sure that you're checking the enter key works or not, because when you're typing out an essay, when you're about to start a new paragraph, you will need the enter key to go on to the next paragraph. So make sure that you're checking all of the buttons on your keyboard are working or not. That is what the test section is for. You have 3 minutes to check the keyboard. Within that time, make sure that there are no dead keys on your keyboard. And if it is there, ask the invigilators to replace your keyboard. So this section is important for that particular reason. Okay. Now, once this is done, then comes a psychometric test. Now, psychometric test, first, let me discuss why it is there. So why is a psychometric test there? Because as I have been pinpointing from the very beginning of the session, that MICA is a very different kind of a college and it wants people with a creative bent of mind. So it tests the personality of the candidate who's taking the examination to see whether they are even a best fit for this kind of a program or not. And if your responses to the psychometric questions do not indicate that you are a good fit for this program, then that means that they are not going to shortlist you and they will disqualify you. So then the question arises that what is the strategy? What strategy should we use in order to clear the psychometric test? The answer to that is there is no strategy. Don't apply any kind of a strategy. Be yourself. All of the questions in the psychometric test are personality and situation-based questions. That as a leader, are you open to people giving out opinions and ideas? Do you like working in a structured environment better? Do you like analytical reasoning or instinct-based reasoning? So questions along these lines will be there in situations might be presented. Some questions will have 6 options. The options will be things like definitely disagree, mostly disagree, somewhat agree, mostly agree, and definitely agree. So you'll have 6 to 8 options like this. And you have to figure out that based on the situation that has been provided, your course of action that they have pinpointed there. Do you agree with it or disagree with it? If yes, then to what extent? Or sometimes there'll be true or false questions directly about your personality, that I am a creative person. True, false. I have never lied in my life. True, false. So these kind of questions will be there. And there are 150 questions like this that you have to answer in 30 minutes. So don't apply any kind of strategy because you have to go through so many questions very quickly. What they're trying to ensure is that everyone is being 100% honest. So be honest to yourself. Answer the question based upon your understanding of your personality and be very, very truthful. And if that truthful answering gets you disqualified, then that is good. Because that means that genuinely you will not be happy with a degree that MICA is going to provide. So make sure that you don't put on any kind of fake personalities. There is no right, that there is no wrong. Right? Sometimes in a bid to sound like a good person, people will mark out answers which are contradictory. If you mark out contradictory answers to different questions in the examination, in this particular psychometric test, then that automatically disqualifies you. For example, this year we had a question which said things like, I am someone who likes to take in as many ideas as possible, evaluate all of them before I decide which idea to use in order to solve the problem. Now, if to this answer, because this entire sentence seems very positive, so if to this answer I say that I completely agree, yes, I do this, then 7, 8 questions later, there is a different question which says that I like a structured approach. I don't like experimenting with false ideas or bad ideas. I pick the best idea and I go with it. Even this sounds like a positive statement. If to this statement as well, you mark the option as agree, then your first answer and your second answer are contradicting. So when you contradict yourself, that means that you are not sure about the kind of person that you are. So once you're not sure of the kind of person that you are, then you are not going to qualify the psychometric test at all. They want to know truthfully, very honestly, what your personality is. So don't try to game the entire process and try to project yourself as a person that you are not. Yes, Rajni, absolutely right. So make sure that you're not applying any kind of strategy. Use instinctive thinking, be honest, look at your past, the kind of actions that have come to define you as a person, and mark the answers. And if your personality is suitable for this college, then you will qualify. If it is not suitable, then they will disqualify you, and that is good for you, because you don't then have to go to a college and study a degree which you are absolutely not a good fit for, right? So that is all that you need to know about this particular psychometric test. Time management is pretty simple because there is no calculation, there is no logical deduction, no right or wrong answers. You have to mark the answers very truthfully and honestly. So 150 questions in 30 minutes can be easily answered. Okay. Right. Yeah, we all wish that was for engineering as well, Rajni. Completely agree. Yeah. Okay. Next comes a descriptive section. Now, descriptive section has got a total time of 25 minutes. 4 essays, and each essay's word limit is 300 words. You can write up to 300 words per essay. Now, how the 4 topics works is that the first topic will give you a particular concept and ask you to write the pros of it. Then the same concept asks you to write the cons of it. Then with respect to the same topic, they will give you a situation and ask you that how will you navigate that particular situation. And then finally, the 4th essay will give you 4 images. The images will be photos. They will not have any connection with each other per se. Just random 4 photos will be there. And you will be asked to craft a story connecting all 4 images in a particular sequence. No, Purvaja. So if you don't clear CAT scores, then they will not even check your MICAT paper. Okay. You have to clear the cutoff for CAT and XAT for your MICAT response to be checked even. Okay. So these are the 4 essays, and the weightage for these are the first 2 essays have a 10-mark weightage. The third essay has a 20-mark weightage, and the last essay has a 30 marks weightage. Knowing this weightage is very important because it also tells you where you need to spend more time and effort in while you're crafting these essays. One more thing which is to be noted here very carefully is that you have got only 25 minutes to craft 4 essays. So time management is key, not just in this section, but in the last section, especially in the objective type part of the paper, it is absolutely key. Okay. So let me talk about strategy of this descriptive section. So what I want you all to remember is that word limit is only a ceiling, not a target. I know people who think that I have to write 300 words for each and every essay, and they try to write 300 words for every single essay, and they fail to manage time at all. They then have to completely forsake the last 2 essays because they don't have time to complete them at all. So remember, 300 is a ceiling. You don't have to hit it. It's not a target. Okay. You just have to keep your essay below that. Even if you write 100 words for some essays, it's absolutely fine. And I'll tell you which essays you can actually keep short. Next thing I want you all to remember is that essays 1, 2, and 3 are a test of your analytical and critical thinking capabilities. Why? Because, for example, this year, the topic that they picked up was hierarchy. People who are at workplaces, they know that what is managerial hierarchy, that who reports to whom, that is a hierarchical structure. So first essay, they asked for 3 reasons why hierarchy is needed and good. Then second essay was 3 reasons why hierarchy was bad. Now, what these 2 essays are testing is that whether you are capable of questioning your own judgments or not, or whether you have a fanatical opinion about most things. So they don't want people who can only look at one side of things. They want people who have got balanced opinions, are capable of analyzing the same concept from different angles and find the pros and cons before they decide to take a stance. So make sure that your analytical capability is at the forefront and you're thinking through the topic that you have to write the pros and cons about. And you are very simply putting forth the answer. There is no need to complicate the first and second essay. Yes, Manav, you have to type these essays out. That's why you are testing the keyboard. In the 0 section, you are testing the keyboard because you have to type out these essays. Right? Now, essay 1 and 2, they're only 10 marks. And they ask for 3 reasons why hierarchy is good and 3 reasons why hierarchy is bad. So in these 2 kind of essays, you can write about 100 to 120 words and be done with it and move on because they're only 10 marks. You don't have to write entire stories. Okay. So every single point for and against, you can write in a different paragraph. It starts to look like a bullet point answer, but it's not a bullet point answer. Don't make it like a bullet point answer. Write full sentences, write full paragraphs, but keep these 2 essays short because you will need time for essay 3 and essay 4, which are of higher weightage. Essay 3 has 20 marks and essay 4 has 30 marks weightage. Now, the third essay actually asks that how will a young manager navigate the problems of hierarchy? So suppose say that's a young manager in an organization where hierarchy is present. So how will they manage their team so that this hierarchy doesn't affect the team negatively? So then you have to put yourself in the shoes of the young manager and then think that what measures they can take specifically. For example, I wrote a couple of points that I wrote was that I will ensure that I am not just a manager or a boss, but I'm their confidant, that from day one, I will try to get to know them personally and in a casual setting as well, so that they become more open to me. Only when people are open to us will they not only treat us with respect and fear, but they will be open to coming and exchanging ideas with us. Second thing that I wrote about is that I will make sure that there are routine town halls, very informal town halls where I take my entire team and I keep the floor open for discussion and I let them talk. I will sit and listen because I want to have exchange of ideas. So that way also I can break the problems of hierarchy. And the third thing that I wrote about was the fact that I will make sure that I also have individual meetings, because some people are not very comfortable talking out in groups. So if someone has any problems, has got any complaints about the company or about the people that they're working with, then I will keep a very confidential meeting, which is not on record, so that every individual can have one-on-one time with me. And that way I can break the problems of hierarchy. So 3 things that the young manager can do. This essay has to be slightly longer because you have to navigate a situation. You cannot write 1 or 2 sentences for and against. So this essay, you can spend a bit more time. Right? So that's how essay 1, 2, and 3 will look like, which are a test of analytical and critical thinking capabilities. Essay 4, though, is a test of creativity. MICA is a creative marketing college. So they will test creativity. So they gave us 4 images this year, or this particular paper, MICAT 1 paper. The images were one image had 2 suitcases, or sorry, 3 suitcases, which are packed with a paper bag on top. One image had a person standing in a market wearing a white kurta and shouting something. Next image had a butter, a slab of butter on which a weird type of a bee or a fly was sitting. And the fourth image was of a restaurant outside which they have made a mechanical camel. So it's a restaurant in Rajasthan outside which there's a mechanical camel which is present, okay, which has been made as a design. So these 4 images are given, and the prompt was that you have to write a story using all 4 images, and all 4 images have to be represented in that story in any sequence of your choice. So you have to write a story here. Now, writing story and thinking about an entire story, concoct it and write it, takes time. And also stories have to be longer. So this is the essay that should take a maximum amount of your time. Moreover, this essay has got a total of 30 marks as weightage. So it makes sense to spend your time in this 4th essay. Now, what would I say is the ideal amount of time to be spent? Or before that, I want to talk about the fact that yes, it is a test of creativity, but does not mean that you have to showcase your vocabulary. Use simple words because you have to save time. And your thoughts need to come through. The fact that you can think through the topic, pros, cons, and situation based, that you can actually exhibit creative thinking capabilities. That is what should get reflected in your essays, not that you have got a great vocabulary and you're using very big words. Okay. Now, what should be the time management be like? First 2 essays put together, you should finish off within 8 minutes. 4 plus 4 minutes at the maximum for these 2 essays to be typed out. 100 to 120 words, should not take more time than that. Quickly type out the first 3 points, pros and cons that you're getting, and move on. Okay. The third essay can take a bit more time, but I would say 7 minutes is the maximum that you should be taking for the third essay, because then you will be left with 10 minutes for the 4th essay. And 10 minutes at least is required to concoct an entire story and write it down. Okay. So this is the time management that I will recommend. One thing that I want everyone to keep in mind is that despite having tested the keyboard, there are glitches in the software. So make sure that you are being very careful while you're typing it out or typing these essays out. For example, the glitch that I faced on my computer, I don't know whether the remaining aspirants and candidates also face this or not, but the glitch that I faced was that suppose say I have typed the and servant. Okay, suppose I'm writing something like this. And then my cursor is here now, and I forgot to add the adjective poor. So I wanted to write the poor servant. Now, if I take the cursor back here and I type P here, then automatically my cursor jumps to the end and the P gets typed here instead of here. So this kind of a problem I was facing. Nishika, you also face the same thing? Yeah, I also face the same thing. So, I found out the way to tackle this is that I should not give a space between servant and poor. So what I started doing is that I took my cursor here and I typed P here. When my P was present with this word, then my cursor was not jumping. So I typed out POOR like this. So then it looked like this. The poor without any space servant. And once I typed this, my cursor was here. Then I press space. So then the word poor was remaining here. If I try to type out a separate word with a space before the previous words, then my cursor will automatically jump to the end. So beware of things like that. There will be problems. Sometimes backspace will not work. Delete will not work. I completely agree. You cannot do a double enter. You cannot use tab. So you will have a lot of difficulties and inconveniences. So factor those in. That's why time management is very, very important. Make sure that you're keeping your essays short so that you're being able to complete them. The worst crime that you can commit is submitting incomplete essays. Right? So remember, 4 + 4, 8 minutes for the first 2 essays, 7 minutes for the third, 10 minutes for the fourth is a very good way to manage your time. If you can do it at quicker time than this, you will also have time to read and proofread and check for any kind of typographical errors. I did not have time to do it. Maybe I should have managed my time better. But this, I think, is a very achievable target. And make sure that you are not caught up in giving very long and expository kind of introductions and conclusions. Those are not required. Keep your essays precise and to the point. That way, you'll be able to complete the essays well within time. Right. Yeah, you cannot select, you cannot do Control-C, Control-V. So remember, don't try out all those function keys, because Rajni is saying that she tried to do something like Control-Shift-Left and then her entire PC got logged off. So you don't have to deal with that kind of situation in your paper. Keep it very simple. Don't try to use any kind of keyboard shortcuts, okay, while you are typing out these essays. Okay. Lastly, Essay 3 Purvaja is about the situation based on the topic in the first 2 essays. So again, I will repeat. In our case, the first 2 essays topic was hierarchy. First essay is why hierarchy is good. Second essay is why hierarchy is bad. Third essay is as a young manager, how should one navigate the difficulties and problems that accompany hierarchy? What all should one do so that hierarchy doesn't affect the workplace? So that was the third essay. Okay, now coming to the objective type, a part of the paper. So this paper or this section has got 4 subsections. First subsection is called convergent divergent thinking, which is nothing but a bit like the LR section of NMAT. Then you have got verbal ability, then you have got QA and DI, and finally you have got general knowledge. You can cycle between these subsections. Okay, so it's not like you have to finish convergent divergent thinking before you go on to BA. You can select whichever sections questions you want to solve first, solve second. You can jump to a different section while in the middle of a certain section. All the 4 subsections can be navigated, can be cycled during the time of this entire objective type part of the paper. Okay, by the way, you have got a total of 80 minutes. So 80 minutes for 4 sections. Okay. The marking scheme is +1 for every correct answer, -0.25 for every wrong answer. There are no theta questions at all. So every single question has a -0.25. Number of options is what is the biggest game that MICA plays with you, because there can be up to 8 options to each and every question. Not necessarily that every single question is going to have 4 options. Also, sessional cutoffs exist. It's not like the snap paper where there is no sessional cutoff and you can attempt whatever number of questions you want to. Sessional cutoffs are there, and you will have to attempt a decent number of questions in every single section in order to clear the objective type section of the MICAT paper. And clearly, you've got 80 minutes and total of 70 questions. Why? Because there is 20 questions in the first subsection, 20 in VA, 20 in QADI, and 10 in GK. So you have got 70 questions in total and only 80 minutes for it. So which means that time management is key. You have hardly a minute to solve each and every question. So make sure that while you're solving questions of this particular part of the paper, you're not getting stuck on one question for 3-4 minutes. That is a crime committed while you're solving this particular paper. Let me talk about convergent divergent thinking. This is a very different type of a section as compared to most papers. I felt this year the difficulty level of this section was pretty high in the sense that you could not attempt too many questions in quick time. The number one type of question which was present in the paper in maximum volume was alphanumeric logic. Like you had, coding, decoding kind of questions. You had sequence-based questions that if you have got, first number is this, second number is this, third number is this, fourth number is what? If so and so alphabets are coded like this, and so and so alphabets will be coded as what? Then I've got analogy questions that if these two like set of alphabets, like something like QPYR is to NEGMT, is to something, four more alphabets is to something, then which of the following will be the second part of PVAB is to CZYG is to what? These kind of questions will be there. So these kind of questions, if you come across and within the first 15-20 seconds of reading it, if you're not being able to figure out the pattern, move on. Don't get bogged down by these kind of questions, because sometimes those patterns don't even strike us at exactly what logic are they using. And if you cannot figure out in 15-20 seconds what logic they're using, then it is a waste of time to spend more than a minute and a half to try and figure out what is the logic. Right? So a lot of questions based on this kind of a thought process were present in the paper. There is also usually a lot of visual pattern recognition. So we have got, things like, you might have seen these kind of questions in children's puzzles books. So I've got one circle which is completely shaded. Then the next image is one circle with only 3/4 shaded. Then the same circle with only half shaded. Then what is the fourth one? So fourth one will of course be that it is only shaded on the left-hand bottom corner. So things like that, you have to figure out the sequence based on visual pattern recognition. So those kind of questions are there. We had blood relations questions like MICAT, but pretty long, because in this also they had introduced a bit of coding and decoding. We had basic verbal logic questions in which we had a situation with which was written down, and from that you have to conclude that if these are true, then which of the following is true. So true or false kind of questions, or directions kind of questions were there. Then we had something called word relations. It's a very, very typical MICAT kind of a question. So word relations questions are, you will have some words in column A and some words in column B. So among the words in column B, there will be one word which will be related to all of the words in column A. So which word is related to all of the words in column A? These kind of questions were actually pretty simple to solve. This is where I would spend my time. This and few verbal logic questions were actually easy. Then we had a couple of analytical reasoning questions like the ones that you have in MICAT. This was also pretty simple to solve. So these are the kind of questions that you will have in the convergent divergent thinking part of the paper. Next, let me talk about the VA section. VA section had one single reading comprehension exercise with 5 questions. Then we had text completion questions in which you had a paragraph in which there are multiple blanks. And for every blank, separate options are given. You have to figure out that which option for each blank will be the correct answer. Then we had contextual synonyms, in which you'll be given a paragraph in which some words will be highlighted. And you will have to figure out from the options, which option has got the corresponding synonyms for each of the words which have been highlighted. So one word is highlighted as A. So which option has got the synonym of A in it? Which option has got the synonym of B also in it, C also in it, and D also in it? So synonyms and vocabulary-based questions were quite abundant in the VA part of the paper. These questions, some were easy, some were not so easy. If you have a decent vocabulary, you can actually solve 50% of these pretty easily. But if you don't have knowledge of the words and meanings which are present in the passage and in the options, it's best and prudent to leave these kind of questions alone. Then we had one single spotting the mistake kind of a question in which we had been given 4 sentences and we have to figure out which sentence was grammatically correct. So a bit of grammar knowledge is required to solve these questions, also present in papers like MAT and SNAP. Then we had parajumbles, which was very, very simple because you had options in parajumbles. And even odd sentence parajumbles questions were actually pretty simple. Then we had a few critical reasoning questions in which you are given a passage. And then from that passage, you have to figure out which of the following is the best summary, which of the following you can conclude from the information given inside the passage. So those kind of questions are also there. So all these types of questions are present. Now, where do I recommend that you can spend time? As I said, if vocabulary is good for you, then these kind of questions can actually fetch you a lot of score. Parajumbles and odds and parajumbles are a certain attempt. If you feel that vocabulary is not your forte, then go to reading comprehension. The 5 questions of reading comprehension were actually pretty simple to solve. So if you have practiced a lot of reading comprehension exercises for CAT, then MICAT reading comprehension, you should be able to get at least 4 out of 5 correct. It was that simple. And the difficult part of the paper, of course, was error spotting and critical reasoning questions. Okay. So these are the different types of questions in the VA part of the paper. Then comes the QA and DI, which is very similar to the CAT paper. Now, descending order of volume, which topics are important? I would say, I thought arithmetic and geometry were equally important because I think four questions of both these topics are present in the paper, followed by algebra, very basics of algebra. You had one polynomial question, one question which was from quadratic equations. So I think 2 questions of algebra, then couple of questions from number systems as well, one set theory question, and one DI set with 4 questions in it. Okay. Now, the flavor of this entire QA section is that the questions are lengthy. Even though the questions were doable, you don't have very short questions. In fact, this year's CAT paper questions were lengthy. My CAT questions, I would say, were even more lengthy than the CAT paper questions, but much more doable than the say CAT questions for sure. Surprisingly, geometry was the easiest part of the paper. Okay, so prepare well for geometry. If you're seriously giving MICAT, geometry can actually take you quite far as the quant section is concerned. And a very surprising thing about this QA and DI section is that the QA questions are long, but the DI set was short. So don't dismiss the DI set because it looks like a complicated graph does not mean that it is going to take you a lot of time and it's going to be very complicated. That's not true at all. You solve the DI set. I think that it gives you 4 questions as answers. So don't ignore or neglect that DI section of this particular subsection at all. Remaining questions, pick and choose your battles. Only pick up those questions to solve which you are absolutely certain of how to solve, and don't get stuck in a question trying to figure out how to solve it, or don't get stuck in really long questions. Okay. And finally comes general awareness, which is your GK part of the paper, which had 10 questions. I found the section to be pretty easy to moderate because I follow current affairs. If you are keeping yourself abreast of what is happening around the world, especially with respect to business news, then this section will be a breeze. I think about 6-7 questions were pretty simple to answer if you follow business news. If not, I would say that at least read business news from now on. Look at the bigger conglomerates like Reliance, like Tata. Look at the startup environment and see that who is the CEO of which company, which all companies come under the Reliance wing, what mergers and acquisitions have happened in the recent past. So things like that, keep yourself abreast of. Even if you don't study too much for GK, I think that still you'll be able to clear the cutoff. I'll tell you why when we discuss the strategy part of the paper. But if you are watching the news or reading the newspaper, even cursorily on a daily basis for the last 6 to 8 months, you should be able to clear the GK cutoff. So of the 4 subsections of the objective type part of the paper, again to reiterate, the divergent convergence section was difficult. The quant section was lengthy. Verbal section I felt was moderate and you can actually maximize the scores there. And GK section was easy to moderate where you can actually score a sizable number of or get a sizable number of questions correct. Now, what should be the strategy for the 80 minutes given for these 70 questions? So first thing to remember, again, I will reiterate, I said speed is key. Don't get stuck in this part of the paper. Keep moving fast and forward. Second thing that we should try and do is that we need to run through the entire paper, run through all 4 subsections, and first solve only those questions which are not just easy but also short. Don't spend your time on the longer questions which will require a lot of calculation, lot of steps and lot of thought. Keep them for later. And that's why during this first run, use your review the question button very, very prudently. By the way, the UI is the same UI as that of the CAT examination. So you know how to mark questions for review. So any question which you feel will be slightly longer, but you can do, mark it for review and keep on jumping forward to shorter and simpler questions first. Why? Because there is sectional cutoffs. It is important for us to attempt a decent number of questions in each and every section. Now, what time split do I recommend? Convergent divergent thinking, I would recommend 20 minutes. And I don't think that you should be coming back to this section, at least if MICAT 2 is anything like MICAT 1. This part of the paper is going to be difficult and long. Pick up the questions which you can solve quickly within 2 to 3 minutes and solve them correctly in 20 minutes in the CDT section. If you can answer minimum 5 questions confidently, then you will clear the sectional cutoff for convergent divergent thinking. Anything more than 5 questions will be an extra, will be a bonus. Then comes the VALR section. Right, Rashmi, I know a lot of the questions don't make sense in this part of the paper. If it doesn't make sense, just skip and move on. In the VALR section, I would say you can spend 15 minutes. Don't pick up the reading comprehension exercise at the very beginning, because that might take a huge chunk of your time, because it takes about 10 minutes to solve those five questions. If you want to solve reading comprehensions and mark those questions for review, look at the remaining questions, get quickly done with parajumbles, odd sentence parajumbles, a few fill in the blanks, the word meanings of which you can understand. Maybe read the critical reasoning passage to see if the options look very deducible in order to get to the correct answer. And solve those questions quickly. And these separate individual questions should not take more than 1 minute, say, for you to attempt. So I would say that in these 15 minutes, if you can attempt a minimum of, again, 5 to 6 questions, then you have ensured that you have cleared the sessional cutoff for the VLR section as well. Might be possible that VLR session might go slightly higher than 6, but I don't think it will. Generally, in this particular examination, 5+ scores in each of the sections clears the sessional cutoffs for MICA. Then QADI, because the con section questions are a bit longer, pick up the questions which are shorter, spend 20 minutes here, and again try to get minimum of 5 questions correct here. And in GA, spend 5 minutes. Quickly run through the questions, only mark the answers to the questions which you're 100% confident of. Don't resort to any kind of guesswork. If you have somewhat of a semblance of an idea with respect to the correct answer, then you can try and take a calculated guess, but don't take a random guess at all. One more thing that I'll tell you about GA questions is that a lot of these questions were match the following kind of questions, or a question which had multiple different parts to it. So sometimes even if you are partially sure about a few of the options or a few of the matches you can make very confidently, then look at the options, because the options itself will tell you that which is the correct answer. Because if, say, I'm confident about one single pair being a perfect match in GK, then that pair might be present in only one single option. So go through the options as well before you decide to skip a question. And in 5 minutes, the number of questions that you should be minimum looking to solve is 2. GK cutoff for MICAT has never gone above 2, by the way. 2 questions, if you get correct and you get 2 marks, you have cleared the sessional cutoff for GK. I think 1 year it went to 3 marks. So if you can answer 3 out of 10 questions correct in these 5 minutes, then that's all that you need to clear the GK section of the paper. Then you've got 20 minutes left, because 20 plus 20, 40 plus 15 is 55 plus 5 minutes is 60. 1 hour of the paper gone, 20 minutes is left. Last 20 minutes you can spend on any which section where you think that you can maximize your overall score. I feel that the 2 sections that people can maximize their overall score are quant and verbal ability. Verbal ability, because reading comprehension was pretty simple to do. And quant, there are some questions which are very doable, but requires a few steps and a bit of calculation. So what logic? So that's what I talked about. A word association with me, that there will be one word in the, say, column B, which will match onto all the words in column A. So sometimes, I remember 2 years back, the same question had got in column B a word apple, and in column A you had phone, you had fruit, you had Snow White. So to all of these, apple was matching, apple was related. So that's why apple was the correct answer. Okay. So something like that. It should have a relation with all the words in the left column. That is what is a word association question. Right. So coming back to the objective type part of the paper, spend your last 20 minutes in maximizing your scores in VALR and QADI sections. Now, what is a good score? Historically, in MICAT, anyone who gets to a total of 30 marks would have comfortably cleared the MICAT cutoff. So 30 marks is an excellent score. So which means that if I get 5 correct in CDT, VALR, QADI, that will be 15 marks. 2 to 3 more correct in GA will give me 18 marks. I have to get 12 more questions attempted at the bare minimum. So that I can attempt as a combination of VALR and QADI. In the past, the cutoff has also gone as low as 25 marks. So it's not like 30 you have to score, but I would feel that 30 questions attempted would be a good number of attempts in MICAT to ensure that even if you get 1 or 2 questions wrong here and there, you will still be able to clear the overall cutoff of the paper. Anyone who gets more than 35 or 40 marks is going to be the 99th percentile in this particular examination. So this is the strategy as far as the paper is concerned. Hope this was helpful. And lastly, preparation tips. So what tips can I give you for preparing for this examination? First thing is that once you register for this particular examination, just before the day of the examination, an official mock link will be shared to you over a text message. So please take that mock, because it will give you a very good sense of understanding of how the sections will look like, and will give you a sense of understanding of how the UI is going to look like as well. And paper pattern is also absolutely the same as that of the mock test. So take the official mock. And what else can you do? That's it. Nothing else. Don't do anything else. I don't think this is an examination that you can prepare for specifically, because convergent divergent thinking, it's not like there's some conceptual understanding that is required. If at all you want to prepare, then the only thing that I'll say is make sure that you're getting a good night's sleep the night so before the examination, because otherwise figuring out the logic of sequences and symbols in the convergent divergent thinking part of the paper is going to be a Herculean task, right? So that's all. Just take the official mock. Rest of the prep you are preparing for CAT, for ZAT, for SNAP, for NMAT, all those will help you clear the MICAT examination. Right. So that's all that I wanted to talk about with respect to this session. Hope this was helpful. If there's any questions about MICA or MICAT, you can post it on the chat right now. If not, I will conclude the session right here. If you don't have any questions, you're free to leave. Thank you for coming, guys, and all the best. Take care. Yes, Prakash, MICAT and CMAT are overlapping on the same date. So my recommendation would be that if you are interested in marketing and creative marketing, definitely give MICAT. MICAT is a much better quality college than almost any of CMAT colleges. And the top level CMAT colleges, you can also apply through your CAT scores. So if marketing is your passion, then go for MICAT too. If not, then you go and take CMAT. All right, guys. I think that's it. There is no more questions. This video will be put up on YouTube. So if you want to look at this later on while you're preparing for MICAT 2 in the month of January, you can do that as well. Okay, guys. Thank you and have a good night. Take care.